Simplicity is great, and this multi-tool right here is a wonderful witness to that. Hello everybody, hope y'all are doing good out there today. So I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and I decided today was a good day to go ahead and do it. In this video we're going to talk about why the original Leatherman Super Tool is such a good multi-tool. And this is a tool that seems to get overlooked a lot, and I just wanted to make this video so some other people may put it on their radar and get to thinking about it. So a little bit for the history of the Leatherman Super Tool. The first Leatherman that was marketed was this Leatherman tool right here. This is what's known as the PST, and it's a 4-inch tool, so it's not too large of a tool. But it was a slim tool, and it was a good size, and it's still just about my favorite multi-tool out of all of them that Leatherman has made, because it's so easy to carry, it's comfortable to carry, it's light, it feels good in the hand, it's got the tools I need in it and all that, and so it's a great tool, and it's one of my favorites. It has what Leatherman calls the toolbox design. That is, it's boxed in on all of the corners, and you access the tools by opening up the tool itself. So you would open it up like this, and then you could open up your screwdrivers, your file, your knife blade, can opener, whatever it might be. So that's known as a toolbox design. And as you can see, this is the original PST laid up beside the Super Tool. And you can see they have the same overall design, even right on down to the little loop right there you got. And so it's the same basic design. So what makes the PST and the Super Tool different? Why did they even make the Super Tool? Why, there's a few reasons. The first thing to notice right off the bat is going to be size. The PST, like I said, was a smaller tool, plenty big enough, but sometimes somebody might want a slightly bigger, stouter tool. And if they did, this Super Tool is meant to fill that gap. As we said before, the handles on this Leatherman are 4 inches. On the Super Tool, they go on out to 4.5 inches. And you can see right here just how much bigger the Super Tool is. It's a lot longer. So if you wanted a bigger handle to hold on to, you get that bigger handle with the Super Tool. Or maybe you wanted a longer set of needle noses, a longer head of pliers. Why, you get that with the Super Tool. Also, maybe it's a matter of strength. Maybe you just want a super strong multi-tool. Why, you're getting that here with the Super Tool. If we compare these two here, look how much stouter the pivot is on the Super Tool. It's a lot larger and it's a lot stouter. And you can see, look at the size of the jaws of the pliers and all this. It's just a heavier duty, heavier built multi-tool. Now, when it comes to plier width, as you can see right here, you get a little bit extra also with the Super Tool. So maybe that might play a part in that. But nevertheless, it's a stouter, stronger tool, and I think that was the initial reason why they decided to invent it. That's not to say the PST is weak, but it is to say that this one is meant to be a little stronger if you think that that would benefit you more. The next thing we've got to consider is the tool set. The tool set on the original PST included what you see right here. On the knife blade side, you had your knife blade, which did vary shapes over the years. Then under the knife blade, you had an awl or a reamer. Then you had a medium flathead. And then you had your large flat blade screwdriver. On the file side, you had your single cut file on one side, your double cut file on the other side, and some small teeth to do some light cutting on metal. You had your bottle/can opener, your Phillips screwdriver, and then you had this teeny tiny little flathead, and that right there is the tool set on the original PST. When Leatherman went to do the Super Tool, they decided to add a few tools. So let's see what the tools that this one has. You'll notice most of the tools hold the same shape and are very similar. We'll begin with the file. The file looks almost identical to the file that you're going to find on the PST, as you can see. But we are going to notice one theme. Every tool is going to be just a little bit bigger on the Super Tool than the original PST, as you can see there. It's just a little bit wider, a little bit stouter, and a little bit longer. And this is going to be the common theme. So first off, we're going to look at the tools that are identical, which would include, first off, the file is identical on these two tools. The next nearly identical tool is your large blade screwdriver. You can see they look just about identical to each other right there. Next, we have the medium flat blade and the awl. And you will notice that the medium flat blade on the Super Tool is a little bit longer than the medium flat blade on the PST. And when it comes to the awls, they're about the same size. The Super Tool is just a little bit thicker, so it may be slightly stouter, but I don't think it's enough to affect anything. Needless to say, these have basically the same tools here also. Next, we have the knife blades. And again, you're going to notice they are basically the same shape, basically the same design. I will say that this PST here has more of a clip blade, and this here has more of a Skinner style blade. But that is just because of the years. The later PSTs had this same Skinner style blade on them. I've got one. So the blades are basically identical for all intensive purposes. The only main difference being the length, as you can see right here, if I can get this lined up. The Super Tools is just ever so slightly longer. The blade stock is really just about the same thickness from the best I can tell. One thing I will say different, though, is the tang itself, where it says Leatherman USA. It's a lot larger on the Super Tool, so you don't really get any more cutting edge. But the overall blade's longer because the tang is a little bit longer. Next, we have the bottle/can opener. Now, you'll notice there is a change here. The Super Tools is larger, and it's also got an added wire stripper right there, as you can see. So this, in my opinion, is a big upgrade on the Super Tool to the original PST. I think that the can opener on the PST is just a little bit small. It'll do it, but I think it's a little bit small. And Leatherman has followed this rule ever since on their multi-tools, and they've done a bigger can opener/bottle opener, and they usually include that wire stripper. So that is one difference that is a good upgrade, but nevertheless, it is still basically the same tool. And here we have the Phillips and the flathead. This is a little bitty tiny flathead, and you can see the original design here on the PST. And that design was kept basically identical, as you can see, on the Super Tool. When it comes to the screwdriver itself, the small flat blade, best as I can tell, there is basically no difference except that the Super Tools is just a very little bit longer. Now the Phillips, there is a pretty substantial improvement on the Super Tool. As you can see, it's quite a bit longer, which is going to help improve your reach if you have a recessed screw. So the Phillips is also the basic same design, but in spite of that, it is a good upgrade compared to the original PST. I believe that I've covered all the similar tools, except for, what you see here on the plier head. They both got an wire cutter. This one just has the regular, what they call a soft wire cutter, where this one here has the little gap that Leatherman calls a hard wire cutter. So that might be an additional tool. Then you can see the plier heads look basically identical except for size. Another thing to note is down here in the original PST, right here where the pliers open, you'll notice there's nothing but the plier mechanism down here itself. On the Super Tool, you can see that they've added this wire crimper. You can see it right here. So that's another tool that was added to the Super Tool. So now let's look at a few things that the Super Tool has, the tools it has that the PST doesn't. We already noticed the hard wire cutter and the wire crimper, and also the wire stripper that was on the bottle opener. But other than that, you're mainly getting two tools. The first one is going to be a serrated knife blade. And you can see this is a great looking knife blade. Look at that. Look how sharp and pointy it is. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's a serious knife blade. There ain't no messing around with that knife blade. It's just about as sharp as it can be, and it's a great blade for cutting rope or other things like that. It's a great blade, and you got a regular knife blade on the Super Tool, but you also have this serrated knife blade, where on your original PST you only had the regular knife blade. But you get this nice serrations on it, and that's a good blade, and it's nice to have a serrated blade on a multi-tool like this, but that's the other upgrade on the Super Tool. Then the last added extra tool, I believe, is this saw blade. This is a wood saw right here. The original PST, as we saw, it has a file in it. And that file has some small teeth on the bottom of it. See if I can get that focused. You can see there to cut through something metal. But this one right here has the same file in it as we already said, but it also includes a wood saw. And this is a good saw, don't get me wrong. So those are the two big upgrades on the Super Tool. Those are a few things it adds over the regular PST. Now, the reason why I think most people would buy the Super Tool over the PST was not what we just discussed. It probably wasn't for the serrated blade or for the wire stripper on the can opener, the wire crimper, or any of that stuff. The reason was that Leatherman made a locking tool with the Super Tool. The old PST is what's known as a slip joint. It's got a spring that rests on the cams of the tools. So when I open something, like say I'm going to open my knife blade, you're going to see this spring rise up a little bit. See how that's rising up? And then it's going to snap into place. And the tension from the spring will hold the blade in position. But all you got to do to get it out of position is just to push on it harder than that spring has tension, and it will allow the blade to close. This does a few things. It makes it easy to close and open, simple to operate. And it's the old style of slip joints. With the Super Tool, they invented a way to lock the blade open. So say we grab the same knife blade here on the Super Tool. As I open this up, you can see again that this spring pushes out just like the slip joint, but there's a big difference. If you notice at the end of the spring, it curves to the left, the way we're looking at it there. It curves toward the cam of the blade. See that? It makes a 90-degree angle there, where when we looked at this the slip joint, it's completely flat. See what I'm saying there? You can see the difference in the cams. And you're also going to notice that there is a recessed spot on the cam of the blade there. See where that sinks in? What's going to happen is this tooth on this spring is going to go into that little recessed spot. There you can see just how that popped in. What this is this makes a slip joint a locking mechanism. I cannot close this blade. I can push and push on it. This blade ain't going to close. It's locked open and it won't close on me. Now, this makes this an officially locking tool. And so that's one of the reasons a lot of people may have wanted to go with this over a slip joint. Now, I personally don't mind a slip joint, but I understand there are some benefits to a locking tool. For instance, if you're using the screwdriver and you're having to apply quite a bit of pressure, say, to get a screw started, and you get your angle wrong, the slip joint could fold on you like that. And it might cause you to hit your hand on something or just be inconvenient or maybe even damage something. So that's a slip joint. The benefit of the locking mechanism is that this screwdriver might as well be just a solid steel screwdriver. It is not going to fold, no matter how hard you press or twist or turn or whatever, unless there's some kind of catastrophic failure, which Leatherman's warranty would take care of. But that is the big benefit of the locking mechanism. To me, about the coolest feature of the Super Tool is how the locking mechanism works. It's so simple. The engineering behind it was genius to put that little curve on the end to fit into a slot on the cam of the tool. It was just so brilliant. But what makes it even better is how you close it. I got this from a pawn shop. I walked in and there it was. I'd never touched a Super Tool or heard anything about them really. I picked it up, messed around with it a little bit, and I realized that it locked open. But then I started trying to figure out how to close it. Now, if you know, you know. It's very simple. If you don't know, it may take you a while to figure it out. I think it took me about 30, 40 seconds of looking at it. I looked at it and said, well, there's no button to push to release it. And I looked up, I looked down, and then I thought, well, there's only one way to do it. And after I figured it out, I went to the guy that owned that pawn shop and told him to close it, and he couldn't do it. And I've done it to lots of people. Open this up and then have them try to close it. And it's kind of fun because some people that are really mechanically minded don't have any trouble at all. They just think about it for a minute. Other people, they never figure it out. So the way you close this, the only way to do it is you have to get this spring to come backwards, to lift up just enough to slip out of that little cam. Now, there's only one way to do it. And, I mean, you could push here, you could try to pull, you can't do it, you could wiggle this, it ain't going to happen. The only way to do it is watch what happens when I open a blade. Watch this cam on the back. If you noticed right there, it's raised this little lock up. Now watch. See, I can fold it because it's raised this lock up above this little slot. So the way you close an original Super Tool is just to open another tool. Simple as that. And this is true for any tool on the whole tool. So whether it's a knife blade, your file, a screwdriver, we'll pull out our large flat blade here. See, it snaps into place good. You can see that that is down in that little notch, so it's locked. I'm going to open one of the blades. It does not matter which. I could do a screwdriver blade. I'll do the file. As I do, it's going to raise that little piece, so I can now close it. So that is the way that you close the original Super Tool. It's genius for two reasons. One, it's lightweight. They haven't had to add any extra springs or any extra mechanisms. All they had to add was a slot on the cam and a little point on the end of the spring. So it's genius for weight and mechanism. It makes it very strong, and you're not likely to have any trouble with it. But it has one inherent problem. And the problem is, if you were, say, to clean this, and you were to open all the tools, if you opened all the tools on one side, you'd get them all locked open, and you wouldn't be able to close them, because you wouldn't have another blade to open to use the cam to close it. So the only way that you could close it then would be you'd have to take a flat blade screwdriver and put in that little slot and pry it open slightly. Now, for the most of us, that's no big deal, unless, of course, you're out in the field. And, there's always some people that just can't remember simple things like that. And so Leatherman got enough complaints with that they started trying to figure out another locking mechanism. And they went through a design or two, but I'll show you the modern one. So the modern locking mechanism on a Leatherman, if you'll notice, it has these little fins right here. But just ignore those fins for a moment. We're going to treat it just like the Super Tool. So you pull out your serrated blade. This is the Leatherman rebar, by the way. You pull out your serrated blade, and you're going to see, again, your tooth here is going to go down into the notch just like the Super Tool. Click. It's locked in place. I cannot close it, okay? So this is the same design so far. The other thing to note here on the rebar or any of the modern Leathermans that use this style, whether it's the Super Tool 300 or whatever, to close this, there are two ways to do it now. You still have the old way, which I think is so neat. Open up one of these other blades, and as I do, you're going to see that cam pivot back. See that? Now I can close it. So a Leatherman rebar or a Super Tool 300, you can close the same way as the original Leatherman. Let me show it one more time. We're going to open up the Phillips. Snapped into place. It's locked. So to close this, all I got to do is open one of the other tools, and it will close for me. So it works the same way as the old one. But what they've done nowadays is they've added this little mechanism here. So when I push on this, it raises the cam, or raises the lever, whatever you want to call it. See that? So what that means is if I'm not thinking, or I'm cleaning a tool or something, if I'm out in the woods or whatever and I don't have a screwdriver, if I open all these, just like that, if I was doing this on the Super Tool, it would be stuck in this position till I found a screwdriver. But on this one, you can just push this little lever and close them all right down. And again, that would work the same way individually, of course. If you're using a Phillips screwdriver, when you get done with it, just push that and close it. It's quicker and it's easier. But all that being said, I still love the design on the original Super Tool because you don't have these levers sticking out. Those can dig into your hands. They can make a hot spot when you're using the tool. And that's one thing I don't like about the rebar. It's a great tool, but that's one downside to it. This one is completely smooth. So any way you're using it, it's more comfortable. And to me, the smoothness and simplicity is an absolute great idea. It makes it more comfortable to use, fits in the hand better, and it's one of them things that is kind of fun, just the engineering behind it is so simple, it's brilliant, and it's fun to give it to people and have them try to figure it out and to open it up. Now, you can still get the Super Tool. It's called the Super Tool 300, and there's a few editions of it, but it's basically the same tool, except that it has the features you see the rebar have. It's going to now have these interchangeable wire cutters. It's going to have the modern locking mechanism on it. Those are going to be the two big changes, and there's some other small ones, but those are the two big ones. And while I'm at it, the rebar is basically a smaller version of the Super Tool 300. The two big differences that you're going to see between the two after all these years, all the tools are going to be basically the same, except for they traded out one tool for another. You're going to have this nice large lanyard loop on the modern Super Tool 300, the way I understand it. I don't have one at the current. And what you're going to be losing is you're going to be losing that little thin flat head, I believe, if I understand right. This one right here. The rebar is more or less, it's not a perfect shrunk version, but it's more or less a mix between the Super Tool and the PST. They took the 4-inch size of the PST and the tools and heavy build of the Super Tool and put them into the rebar. All that being said, the original Leatherman Super Tool is a great tool, one of the best tools ever made. You can find these on the used market for under $50. You ought to get one. You won't regret it. It's a great tool. And all that being said, the pliers are about my favorite on the original Super Tool. They're stout and they feel good in the hand. They're light and nimble. This tool is also the same size as a Leatherman Surge. But it's, as we said, it's the toolbox design where the tools are on the inside, so it weighs a whole lot less. Nevertheless, you're really getting just about the same firepower, I believe. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good day. Comment your experiences with the Super Tool. Let me know your favorite Leatherman. You have a good day. Keep your knives sharp.